Welcome to Industry Insiders, created and produced by the Center for Entertainment and Hospitality Management at California State University, Fullerton.
During this series, we sit down with influential professionals in the entertainment and hospitality industries that are located across the world.
Our goal is to learn about each professional's career and gain wisdom from their experience in the industry. This week's guest is Jimmy Whisenhunt. Jimmy is currently the Senior Music Partnerships Manager at Twitch. He has worked at Twitch for 10 years and has previously worked as a Senior Game Designer at Daybreak Game Company. He works to forge long-term, mutually beneficial platform partnerships with artists and other creators in the music space. He also does consulting for talent, management, and other artist hubs in the industry on how best to leverage live streaming on Twitch as part of their social media and content strategy. Join us as we chat with Jimmy Whisenhunt.
And a nice warm welcome to Jimmy Whisenhunt. Welcome to Industry Insider. How are you doing today?
I'm good. It's been a calm day with the 2-year-old in quarantine. So that only tells me that there's a high likelihood you'll hear a blood-curdling scream at some point. That's just my son, and I'll apologize ahead of time. I'm glad to be here.
We appreciate that. Definitely. We're glad to have you here. I have to introduce my co-host, Megan Martin. How are we doing, Megan?
I'm good. How's everyone? We're doing good, right?
Yes, we're doing well. Megan's a graduate. It's been like 6 months, right? Half a year?
Yeah, I graduated in the fall. So December, January. Yeah.
And there's a reason why Megan is our co-host today. So I teach entertainment money management, BUAD 360. And in the class that Megan was in was the first semester that I really talked extensively about Twitch. And so when I mentioned Twitch in class, she like perked up and said, oh my gosh, I'm on Twitch every day. I do this, I do that. I said,
yeah,
just come up to the front of the class. You can teach with me today.
Yeah, he had me pull up my account. I don't stream myself. I'm more of just a viewer, but I am a big fan of Twitch. I constantly am on there following, subscribing to creators, a lot of gaming industries. And it's awesome.
Nice.
So Jimmy, maybe first off, explain to us what your current role is at Twitch and what you've done in your 10 plus years with the company.
Yeah, so currently partnerships manager with Twitch under the music department. It's a newer team. So I guess actually context is important here. We've had music on Twitch for the past about 5 years, I think. Sounds about right, with a creative vertical that launched. We never had a dedicated team. So this is a industry and artist focused team that is separate from our normal partnerships group. They're amazing people. They're global. They're way bigger than us, but we focus specifically in on how to build out, specific solutions and address the different industry concerns and the different industry pieces that are very new to the company. So day to day, I'm usually working with artists and labels, management, that sort of thing to help them understand Twitch.
What kind of growth have you seen with the music vertical specifically during quarantine?
It's been insane. It's crazy. You also asked about like other roles at Twitch. It's been really cool because it's all related. Like 5 years before I joined Twitch, I was a partner on Twitch. I streamed essentially full time with YouTube as well. Put all my videos there, was a Counter-Strike commentator in the esports scene, that sort of thing. And, went to Daybreak and then eventually just said, fine, I'll finally join Twitch. Not really. I was really excited to, but it had been a long time coming where it helped start my career. And, I got asked the question again and it's just like, yeah, I really need to make the leap. But when I started the company, we were already starting to look at this like non-gaming, quote unquote, these things that weren't gaming. And at that time, when we started introducing this, we saw a pretty tremendous amount of growth in those areas because obviously gamers aren't just gamers, they do other things. And we saw a little bit with music, and every time we'd see major growth in music, it's like, wow, this is insane. This is really cool. Can't wait till we can focus on this. And with this team kicking off, we helped a few artists very specifically to experiment. And we had plans for the next, many years and how we're going to tier this out and grow this. And then COVID-19 and the quarantine and all these other things. And it's like, cool. So all of those things need to happen now. We have to figure out which one of those are feasible to do most quickly. But we're very fortunate that we're at least in a spot to help artists still earn money for themselves and a lot of times their teams and to still be involved with their brands and everything else. But the growth we've seen has been absolutely just
Yeah.
insane.
I can only imagine. Yeah. So Megan and I will go back and forth asking questions. So I'm
Yeah.
going to toss it over to Megan. You can go ahead with your first one.
All right. So for the viewers online right now who may not know Twitch, why don't you give a brief explanation of what Twitch is and how it kind of works as a viewer and as a streamer?
Sure. So Twitch is a live streaming platform. It lends itself more to a social media type experience when you're watching content than a content platform. It's really more of a service in that realm of like when you're watching a stream, you've logged in to Twitch because you're there to watch long form things. Like it's almost like a TV show. It's like appointment viewing. You're really tuning in for a long period of time. We're obviously seeing a lot of growth recently. Numbers are always changing, but we have engagement upwards of like 20x most live streaming platforms just because it's all we do. You know exactly what you're getting into when you're tuning in. So as a viewer, you are given a unfiltered isn't the word, but there's a chat room for you where there's no priority basis. Like there's sometimes when you go into a live streaming service, you know, you may be verified or like there's VIP people that kind of get certain placement, that sort of thing. This is kind of chaos in the best way possible. You are in the mix with everyone else. So if there's 10 people, you can all talk to each other in the broadcaster. If there's 100,000 people, you're all talking at the same time. It becomes more like being at the arena at your favorite concert, everyone cheering and being there together, and kind of like a hive mind sometimes. But from there, you have the option to support your broadcasters in a few different ways. Like we have the option, kind of a patron model, where you have a broadcaster in front of you. You can choose to subscribe, not follow. It's different things on our platform. Subscribe for a monthly fee, $5, $10, or $25 a month to support the broadcaster in front of you. They get paid through that. You can also follow them, of course, not to get the two confused. You can use bits, which you buy from Twitch, to cheer and have animated things in chat that also pay them. And it's meant to be an interactive back and forth experience for the viewer. As a broadcaster, it's a lot of the same, right? Like with Twitch, the streams are typically longer. People, because of that engagement, how long they tune in for, it's best to be super authentic and spend an hour plus. It's really hard to play a character for extraordinary amounts of time when you're live for that long. So it's really a place to get your fans together, if you already have those, to have a more intimate environment, to have a place where it's a back and forth. That chat that you're looking at as a streamer is just important to the broadcast as you are. You got to find ways to involve them and bring them in.
Yeah, you're giving us some great tips. What has been, you can pick a favorite, or what has been maybe a best practice in terms of a musician who's maybe been new to Twitch and kind of hit the ground running and just really grown quickly and done some really cool and innovative things?
There's been a lot of new things, and some of them were so common sense that no one ever thought how effective they could be. But like as an example, I mean, one of my favorites, it's no secret, I talk about him all the time, but it's Kenny Beats, producer on Twitch. He's been incredibly successful on YouTube and just as a producer with a newer generation of artists in hip hop. And he came over to Twitch and was low-key frustrated that people thought COVID brought him, but he'd actually been planning it for months and it just lined up just in time. But he has taken this approach where he knows and recognizes that the only reason he's been successful in entertainment and in producing music is because of what he says people gave him the game. And so he uses his channel as an opportunity to not just give advice, but he brings people in. His viewer base has turned into this community of over 50,000 people that are amateur producers, they're hobbyist producers, they're rappers, they're all kinds of different things. And he hosts every other day beat battles where he gives them a sample, sometimes from a legendary producer like Thelonious and many of these other people. The Count gives them a sample and says, you have 2 hours to make a beat, submit them here. We're going to judge them with Timbaland was on one day. He had all these different artists sometimes who get to see these people's work for the first time. And we've even seen some people placed. Like one person got placed with the legend Bull D. James and had never placed a record before.
Wow.
So using it in a way to obviously goodwill with the community because you're helping them out. But at the same time, like you're potentially meeting a lot of great collaborators and getting a lot of attention for your brand.
Yeah. If we say we're just starting off, I'm personally kind of new to Twitch in terms of streaming. I've been streaming now since quarantine, so probably about, 13, 14 weeks trying to grow my channel. What advice do you have for best practice for people to grow their channel when they're first starting off?
A lot of it depends on where you're starting, right? I think if you have a base to leverage, even if it's small, and like this is the same advice in gaming, but a little different in music, because you typically have some group of people who like you on the internet, been to some of your shows, even if small. And it's that leverage the contacts who'd be interested in your content, even if it's two people. I can't stress how important the street team is now. Even more so than the days when that was like the biggest thing, was the flyers and everything else. Think about it from a new viewer's perspective. If you're a growing artist and you have 20 people who are going to tune into your Twitch stream, it might not feel like much when you see the big numbers of everyone else. But when a new viewer comes over, that means that there's 15 to 20 people who are passionate about what they're watching and chatting, and that person's going to have questions. You shouldn't have to answer the same question a million times, but those people in chat can, right? They can help moderate your chat. They also help boost your overall discoverability. The more people that tune in, the higher you rise in the category of whatever you're streaming, music, talk, whatever that happens to be. But that community aspect is super important. So just even the advice I've given people on like showroom floor at E3 or like, the gaming conventions when I was doing that has always been, get your cousin and your friends from high school and like other people who you share interest in. It sounds super small, but it makes a world of difference. And also you don't go crazy, making sure that you have, some people to chat with while you're doing it.
Absolutely. All right, Megan, your turn.
Kind of going off that, building a base. So I have a friend and he's starting to build his base. So he's got my friend who's a digital designer making emotes. So can you kind of explain like the specialty things that when you become a subscriber, you get emotes and doing like the highlight my text so you can create this connection with the streamer?
Yeah, so that's a really big piece is, I mentioned community. As part of that, people want to, it's not just about receiving something for the subscription, for the money they're giving you. It's representing the community. I think them knowing they're supporting the person in front of them is a great reward already. But out of that, by subscribing to a channel, that channel owner, that person who's streaming, has the opportunity to upload a custom emote and a custom badge. So someone who subscribes shows up with a branded badge. You get to pick that. There's actually multiple levels. So as people subscribe for a year plus, they get upgraded badges. You can choose to do that. So you can more easily know who those long-term supporters are. And they get to feel great about the fact that, they've supported you for that long. It's really a two-way street. It feels a lot better to subscribe $5-10 a month to someone who like I enjoy and get to talk to than paying my cable bill. So people are like really excited to like fork over some money and help someone out as long as they keep making content. And the emotes are important too. Just using Kenny B, since we just talked about him, he's built out a roster of emotes that become available for people to use when they subscribe anywhere on Twitch. That are all inside jokes, like literally all of them. If you didn't know anything about Kenny's stream, you'd probably be like, why does he have an incense emote? Well, that's because he closes the curtains and he lights incense. And when they open, the room's filled with smoke. And so everyone posts the incense emote.
That's awesome.
When free Eris, a lot of things like that. So that's a really cool way to keep your community engaged. And also, by the way, earn subscribers. There are actually some people on Twitch who have extraordinarily high subscription counts as compared to the view counts, because their emotes are so solid. People want to use them. So they still love the creator, but like they just want the emotes. They want to go use them on Twitch.
Yes. Yeah. I just became affiliate. So I now have my 3 emotes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Just 3 emotes logged up. I'm trying to get to the next level where I can add some extra emotes as well. So I love the emotes. It's so cool. So yeah. For people who are in school, either about to graduate or maybe have graduated, what kind of, career opportunities are there with Twitch? Where do you see that kind of going as you grow at such a rapid pace?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, Twitch is a lot of things. Like it's always fun to be in chat, and as staff, we have a wrench next to our name, and everyone, like, if they're not super familiar with Twitch, they're like, what is that wrench? Oh, he works at Twitch. I'm like, oh, great. You're an engineer. And I'm like, nope, can't write a lick of code. Definitely not a thing. So Twitch has opportunities for just about everything. It's not just the techie, let's build a platform. Everything from general content accounting to handling the finance aspects of deals, attorneys, paralegals. Myself, I actually am not a college grad. I accidentally found my way into content creation and decided college can wait, and it never came up for me. But most people I work around, I mean, they have MBAs, they have degrees in business and the things that are associated with what they do at Twitch, whether it's entertainment, gaming, deal structure. So there's definitely a lot of different opportunities with the company.
And then you mentioned content. I wanted to ask you, because you've been producing content for years, in your opinion, what makes up a good piece of content?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that that is a really broad question. I think when it all depends on the platform you're making it for, right? I think Twitch specifically, it's knowing how to authentically and consistently engage an audience without letting it completely consume what the stream is, right? Like there are examples of channels where a big majority of a channel is to have a conversation, but it's very hard if anyone's ever been in a meeting where there's too many people in it, like nothing ever gets done. You just go in circles a million times. It's like being a late night host. It's like being someone who can be interesting, use the chat to drive forward the content that's happening, and just know how to read the room and keep providing them with what they want, because their wants and needs and content are going to evolve. You're the centerpiece and the vehicle by which they enjoy it. So just really trying to stay in tune with the people who are there every day.
Interesting. All right, Megan, go ahead.
So I'm wondering about like when you're a new viewer and you're first going on. Obviously, I am a seasoned viewer. I have recommended channels and all that kind of stuff. But when you're new to it, for someone who's first going on Twitch, what do you recommend they do? Does it pop up? Do you have an algorithm that pops up videos, or is it more of you have to look for someone?
Yeah, so there's a few different ways you can find content, and even more recently, that's changed a little bit more. So we historically, everything that you would see, if you go to just twitch.tv, like the actual homepage, there is at the top what we call like the carousel. Like up there are different things that are being promoted for various reasons. Maybe it's a sponsored stream, maybe it is an editorial decision. That day there's an artist dropping an album or a big charity event with one of our partners. Like there's definitely some of the larger events happening on Twitch on that front page. Oftentimes you'll also spot some smaller broadcasters that we're working with because we are trying to help them get their name out there. Like they've become partners of the platform. They're people who we're really trying to help jumpstart. What I recommend the most is to click into browse and look at the categories available. Like find, if you're a gamer and you enjoy games, dive into one of those categories and scroll down. Go down, or don't sort by views. Like go find some people with 10, 20 views. And that's where you have the most opportunity to engage with other people who are watching, to talk directly to that broadcaster, and really start forming some friendships on the platform. I mean, obviously always dive in to watch Summit and all the giant guys on the platform, guys and girls. Yeah. But you know, there's a whole nother side of Twitch that is really, really, really fun. And it's always rotating, because as people find viewership, they graduate up to those larger streams, and it's fun to be a part of that ride and help support the people you really enjoy.
In your email signature, you have this great fact about Twitch that more people are watching Twitch than, I think you said, like CNN and the news and everything like that. Could share with us kind of the facts behind that part of your email signature?
Yeah, that's actually, so it's funny. I saw that recently. I was reminded that I had it in there. That was from like 2016, I think, was when that quote came from. But Twitch has grown massively. I mean, at this point, we are the largest live streaming platform in the world, and it's nuts because all that was built on gaming for the most part. You know, we've seen a tremendous amount of growth over the past year in our just chatting category and our podcast category, where more and more people who don't have a bit of gaming in their content are really finding great success. But when you think about it, like general biggest streams I've seen on Twitch were like some of the Counter-Strike tournaments with E-League. They had, I think, just under 1.1 million concurrent viewers at the same time on one channel.
Wow.
We've regularly had different partners reach in the six figures of concurrent viewership. And the wild part is if you zoom out kind of from an outside perspective, it's maybe hard to see, but when you see those big numbers, that's impressive. But then dive into those categories, like I mentioned earlier. There's thousands and thousands of people with hundreds or low thousands of viewers at that moment, all watching different types of content, engaging in their own way.
Yeah, it's a fascinating environment. And then in class, and Megan will reiterate this, we talk about kind of the 5 to 6 different ways you can earn money on Twitch. Mm-hmm. What do you feel is maybe an underrated way to earn revenue on Twitch that most people don't consider that they should?
Ads, ad revenue. We have this conversation with our partners all the time. So just for context, is like for a lot of partners and affiliates, the largest revenue driver is subscriptions, and it's for good reason. I mean, like if you think about the world of ads, you need thousands of impressions for it to equal a certain amount of money, right? But at the end of the day, it's still additional revenue. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to run ads. I feel like a sellout. It's like, okay. But if you think about this for a moment, these people are here to support you monthly with recurring subscriptions to your channel. They're not going to mind a few ads, and it's going to be a major add to your channel. And as channels grow, those ads become more valuable to that channel. So the larger you get, so the earlier on that you find ways to incorporate ad breaks, like they're actually pretty natural. Like right now, if I'm streaming, I out of water, I'll be right back. I can choose on Twitch to run a 30-second, minute and a half, up to 3-minute ad break. Mm-hmm. So you might as well use those opportunities to run those, get the community used to that earlier on. And frankly, by the time that you get very large, those ads are worth quite a bit of money to you.
Yeah. Do you have to be partner status to be able to run ads, or can you be affiliate?
I believe affiliate just got launched recently.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. I'll have to check that out. Okay. Megan, go ahead.
All right. So Twitch is always looking for new ways to incorporate this community, because that, I think, is what sets Twitch apart from other live streaming, is building this base that you have for the streamer and the viewers. One of the things that I love to see is my favorite gaming streamer. He actually is working towards letting the viewers influence his gaming. Do you feel that that can work with music partnerships? Like maybe, if you have viewed this many, because we have like the channel points. If you viewed this many, maybe I'll play you a beat or something. Like just creating that community.
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity for artists to do some really cool stuff, and shouting one of them out is ETC Kid, etc. Kid. One of the weirdest experiences your first time tuning in. There's a learning curve, but effectively by supporting the channel in various ways, your name can be put into an electronic beat, and different letters and numbers in your name and spaces, underscores, all these characters are taken into account by an algorithm that produces certain sounds. And he then is layering on top his own synths and other things. So the people who have supported while he's working on a new song actually become a part of that song. And it's very, very cool. And I'd love to see more of it.
That's really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Well, way to check that out. You're just dropping some gems all over the place here. When you look at Twitch, it looks very different now than how it looked 3 or 4 years ago. What are some upcoming maybe additions, kind of innovations that is coming soon to Twitch in general?
I think a lot of it for now is us figuring out how to solve new problems. Like there's obviously like large scale things that we're always trying to work towards on like longer roadmaps, but the more interesting things usually come up because we found a new problem to solve. And we've been especially on the music side, so focused on finding better ways to surface the fact that music's available on Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Like if you tune into Twitch now, anywhere on the platform, at the top, you have options to, instead of just browse, it says browse, esports, and music. So it's definitely like we make some of those smaller changes that have a pretty big impact, just so artists, of course, feel supported. Camera's going out of focus. So artists feel supported, and as well as just help them get that general attention they deserve. But as far as things coming down the road, I think the next things we're going to focus on are going to be more and more extension interaction related. Like, we've always believed, and we've always been pretty good at knowing that we rarely have good ideas, but if we enable the community to solve a lot of their own problems through development or someone to fill that gap, they can. And extensions are a great example of that, where we opened up our systems to allow for people to build like widgets and apps that are interactable and have a two-way communication with the website and you to really kind of build whatever you want. I mean, Amazon Music went out and built an extension that syncs the person viewing the stream's Amazon Music player with the streamers. So now, rather than playing music directly through a stream, you're syncing two different things together. So there's full attribution for the artist. When a song is there, it's a stream instead of it just being some view on a Twitch stream. So there's a lot of really interesting things out there. I think we'll see a lot of development.
I'm a big part of the DJ community. I'm a DJ myself, DJ all over the world, and we have seen lots of DJs come over to Twitch, in the last 3 months. And sometimes it's hard to get people to kind of come off of, like, if they like watching on IG Live or whatever, over to Twitch. But once they get there and they learn about it, they love it. What are some ways that we in the DJ community can really kind of help to get our people over to Twitch? Because once they get there, first of all, they can, support us even more with, bits and subscribing, and the chat, just how you mentioned earlier, the chat is really where it's at. What are some ways that we can really kind of get people who are very new to Twitch kind of over there and away from the other platforms?
So we've seen a lot of different routes of doing it. I think one thing, and I don't know how true this is, the quarantine has thrown all the stats off for everyone. But I mean, if you think about how people consume content, specifically like Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, like, it's all very different. So when I open my phone, right, I open Instagram, I'm usually opening it up to go check out maybe a quick video and some pictures and go through my stories. And I might spot that someone's live and I'll tune in for a bit, but I haven't really committed that long term. Like I haven't really set myself up to be there for like an extended period of time. So what we've seen are more and more people doing using IG Live as a short form. Hey, we're going to do the first 5 minutes here, or hey, we're going to do a quick Q&A tomorrow at 1 on IG Live. And then after the fact, do like 5-10 minutes there, let people know we are continuing on over on Twitch. And it may seem like a small number of people the first couple times you do this, but those are exactly the people who were willing to open up an app and lock in for long form content, which is what you're after anyway, right?
Yes.
And that'll grow over time, and more people become used to it. It just takes time. I think like moving any social media.
Yeah, it takes time, like months. Like it won't happen right away, but if you're if you're consistent, people will eventually get there, and then they'll see the value. So it's a lot of our, like the DJ people, we're trying to figure out ways to do it, and we just gotta support each other and say, come on over to Twitch, try it out. We'll kind of help you along the way.
Well, I think, and just to that point too, the hard one to realize, and I think even commit to sometimes, is if you continue serving the content that they're used to seeing in the places they're used to seeing it, they kind of just stay where they are and don't know what they're missing, right? The better quality and that sort of thing, getting off the phone and going to a full-on computer stream. Sometimes it's just best to give them the opportunity to slowly acclimate to the idea and rip the Band-Aid off for a stream and see if you get a major 20% increase in viewers, then you know that it kind of worked. You can always go back and do some more on IG, but really we've seen the most success when people are like, as of next week, come over to Twitch, and that's when the big bump happens.
Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, go ahead, Megan.
So kind of bouncing off of that is like building that community from bouncing off to different platforms, right? So YouTube, you can upload videos. One of the cool things that Twitch has is VODs and highlights. So can I explain that? Because a lot of people just think, oh, it's Twitch, it's live streaming. I have to tune in when they play it. But that's not always the point, the time and the point for that.
Yeah, so definitely there's a few different ways to watch content after the fact. I mean, most of people who are tuning in for live for sure, but there are archives after the fact if the broadcaster chooses to have those on. Some people choose to not to. They like the idea of it being ephemeral, like, hey, you got to be there when it happens. And then they also have the option, and so do their editors if they assign them in their community, to cut up those videos into smaller form highlights that can be presented to people, so you get an idea of what your channel is about if you're offline. And then there's clips, and clips are super relevant to live too. Clips are super important. It's fun for viewers. They get credit for finding cool clips they can share. And it's great for artists because everyone I talk to and every producer I talk to is like, man, these kids are so excited about my music. They want to help, but they're pirating it and they're just straight uploading it to YouTube. Like, I understand that they're fans, but like, that's not helpful. With Twitch, viewers have the ability, if they like what they see, if something's funny, they can click clip. It gives them their own page with what they just clipped and edited, and they can share that link with people. And anyone who clicks it has a direct link back to your channel. So like it's a full circle thing.
Yeah. When you look at competitors, who kind of worries you? Or first question is, who do you view as your top competitors? And then when you look at them, who kind of worries you?
I mean, this just sounds super cliche, but it's a very Amazon way of looking at things. And that's why I think we benefited from the Amazon acquisition. Was Twitch has kind of always just been hyper focused on our customer, which is weird for some people to hear. Is the viewers are important to us. I don't want anyone to be offended by this, but our customer is the broadcaster. So as long as we stay focused on them, we do things like industry best and industry first subscription models, and going out and handling better and better ways for them to monetize and communicate with their audiences. And as long as we stay ahead of that and keep working on that, that's what we try to focus on. Because realistically, at the end of the day, if you have the top broadcasters in the world and they are making a huge amount of money from the community where they are, and they're happy doing it, we don't have too much else to really focus on. We just want to stay on that.
Talk to us a little bit about how you'll have many big events on Twitch. Like, it could be some conferences, and they kind of do that. And that's just a whole nother level of experience. Kind of share with us some of your thoughts and experience with that.
Sure. So, there's obviously the gaming side. More recently, over the past couple of years, we've dove more into the lifestyle side. An example of that would be working with ComplexCon to broadcast some of their stuff. More and more streetwear starting to pop up. We have seen a huge amount of interest in that. And like, that's the point I mentioned earlier, is gamers are very normal people. And I think it's just finally cool. Like, there's not a lot more gamers in the world these days. I think it's just finally okay for it to be a hobby without being called a geek, unlike when I was in high school. So we've got everything from E3 to PAX. One of the nice things about it, even when I find myself at E3, and I've got pretty good access when I'm at E3, I've worked in the industry, I get to I find myself sitting down at the hotel sometimes and watching through a stream, because they have, through the stream, access to 10 different stages at the same time. I get to see the crowd reaction. I'm getting interviews that I'm not going to be able to find the person on the floor. And it kind of carries over to music too. Like, we did this event, sorry, my 2-year-old just walked over and stole my phone. Maybe my wife can grab it from him. Great. It carries over to music too. We did an event more recently, right after COVID, called StreamAid. And StreamAid was done in partnership with a ton of labels and management companies we've worked with. And I don't know of another time that we could convince all of these major labels and all of their talent and all these management companies to come together and fly them all to the same place, by the way, and have them all play. But it was like 30 or 40 artists playing their own music, like 1, 2, 3 songs a piece for 12 hours. And it raised like $2.7 million, which is a very different experience than what that festival might look like in person. It takes multiple days. You got to fly a lot of people out. So we're starting to see that there's definitely some room in music to do some really cool stuff as well.
When you look at the landscape, television landscape, where do you feel Twitch can fit in terms of, maybe instead of TV shows maybe popping up on traditional networks, CBS, Fox, or even Netflix, how might Twitch fit in there with some sort of live programming?
Yeah, so we've done some really cool partnerships with people in the space. One of which I mentioned was E-League. That was with Turner out of their studios. And we worked with them to have their television style production without compromising it for television, without compromising the Twitch end, because we've learned you don't want to produce like it's television for Twitch. And I think television's kind of learned that you don't want to do the Twitch thing for TV. It's, it's a little different. So we found ways to have this crossover world where you can watch Rocket League on Turner with the E-League, and then you can catch all the qualifying matches on Twitch. So if you are the fan, it's equivalent, I guess, of having the in-car access for NASCAR or F1 racing and that sort of thing. you get to actually talk to those drivers on Twitch and like go to their channel specifically and learn, hey, how are you feeling about the match? Forget the interview. You're asking like in their channel, maybe making them mad.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I mean, more recently, to wrap that up, is we've also had a show, Super Punch, where we are using a time slot to bring in hosts from our own world and moments from the platform and bring them to people on more traditional television, and do some cool stuff there as well. So we're trying it out. We're doing some really cool stuff.
Interesting. You mentioned long form content. Why is it that Twitch, the most successful Twitch streamers have long stream content than kind of short stream content, which would be less than an hour, I'm assuming, correct?
Yeah, I mean, some folks will do shorter. Juicy J is just very unpredictable. He's hilarious. He'll like show up for 10 minutes before a show and then leave, and people like it. But other people go way longer. I think the biggest is we've got a really interesting culture on Twitch where like people probably know but don't really think about it. Like Twitch has been around for quite a while. I mean, Justin TV was launched pre-2010, and that was us before it was Twitch. So just over time, it's kind of built this format that people enjoy and they don't feel like they're going to miss out on. Like they know when to tune in, and if they tune in 3 hours after the fact, they're there for it. You don't have to stream for that long, but you also get major benefits in live. The longer you're live, the more opportunities people have to find your stream. So I think it's just kind of a snowball effect for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well said. Over to you, Megan.
So I keep going back to community thing because that's my favorite part about Twitch. Some things that I love to see is really this post-COVID kind of thing. Like we've seen people bringing up games that you can play with the viewers. What are some ways that people can be connected through their streams within chat, but also in some other ways that you've seen?
Yeah, so I swear I'll stop talking about Kenny after this, but he's on the mic. We've mentioned him twice already. Actually, we'll just say in general, like he's not the only one doing it. I think we see a huge amount of usage of integrated platforms like Discord as an example.
Yeah.
There's offline chat is actually a thing that's really surprised some people as well. That is like just literally on Twitch, people chatting while you're not online. I'll never forget, we did an event with OVO for Party Next Door, and it was exclusively on Twitch. So everyone came there. And it was like 12 hours before the event, and people were in there talking about their favorite songs. And I was getting calls from like label reps and other artists on the label. They're like, what is happening? I'm like, they're excited, dude. Like they're here. Like they're not just here for the stream. They're all fans coming together to celebrate. But Discord's fantastic for people who are doing it long term. While you're offline, you can surprise people and show up in the Discord and say like, hey guys, hope you're having a great weekend. Nothing else to say, just want to say hi. Or like, I'm going to pop in this voice chat, come yell at me for 10 minutes. Like just keeping them engaged outside of just the stream is always a solid thing to do.
I'm so glad you mentioned Discord. I had never used Discord until like 2.5 months ago. And it's a great platform. It really fits well with Twitch. It goes along with it. Like I stream sometimes MLB The Show video game. And so for the league I'm in, it's like on a Discord. And so it's just so interesting and fascinating that it's there and it syncs right in with Twitch. And you can do so much. It's just, so now when I go teach the class in the fall, I got to add some stuff about Discord in it because that's a really important aspect.
Well, and you already mentioned the integrations, like the big stuff, like if you can have different levels of access, like if someone is a subscriber, they have access to more channels than someone who is not, which work great for just being a baseline to build out ideas. Like a producer like Kenny can use it to say, hey, subscribers beat battle channel. So only people who are subscribed have access to the samples he's dropping, and he knows everyone in there is trying to compete. So you can do some really interesting things with that.
Yeah. When I go into some Discord, it's funny. It's a great segue. And a lot of people ask about like growing your stream and growing your channel. And the most common answer is networking. So first, what's your thoughts on networking within Twitch? And then how has networking helped your career personally and professionally?
Sure. So I think when it comes to networking as a broadcaster, especially starting out, it's daunting. Like you're dealing with a pretty siloed world, no matter what social media you're on. Like maybe Twitter, you're funny enough for long enough, someone follows you back, right? Like that's kind of like a wild strategy, but it works for a lot of people. Twitch is interesting because we've added a few features. Like one is hosting and one is rating.
Yeah.
Hosting can be super useful. Like, never underestimate the power of even 2 concurrent viewers. There are other people on the platform who may have 5 times yours, but those 2 viewers are pretty valuable to them still, right? And so finding content you also really enjoy, chatting in their channel, not self-promoting, by the way. You could always say, hey, I'm a streamer too, when you get to know them, but like, don't make them feel like you're trying to steal their chat or something. But getting to know them through that, and then throwing them a host, right? After, you're done streaming. You're not going to use that audience anyway. Those people would probably like something to watch, and that person would appreciate it. Host their channel. Now anyone that comes to your channel while you're offline will see that content, and you've just got a pretty solid introduction. You've helped them out. Yeah. People likely will start adding them to their host list, which is automatic. Rating people when you start getting 5, 10 viewers at a time is even better. It forces everyone in your channel directly to theirs, and everyone's excited about it. So using the type of things that I think always advise college grads to do in real life is don't just network for your own benefit. Network and help other people goes a lot farther. Do that on Twitch too.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I have a DJ friend, Miss Ninja, and she DJ for 24 hours straight to celebrate her birthday. And so she's one of my 6 channels that I host. So people came to my channel before I did my set, like 8 p.m. Pacific. They're like, oh, we saw this girl. She's DJ for 24 hours. We watched and we come back. So it's exactly what you say.
Yeah. And I mean, in regards to just in my career, like it's all been networking. I mean, literally, like getting into YouTube and Twitch and everything else that I had done that eventually got me to be at Twitch, even in the games industry, came through Counter-Strike. And it's really easy to assume that the people in front of you in a video game are just random gamers, the stereotype from South Park. They got nothing to offer, got the Cheetos all over. Like that's not the community that we actually live in, and it hasn't been. So I, through that, came across several people who happen to live in close towns, got to know them pretty well, come to find out that they're my age and they compete in Counter-Strike and they're wanting to get into it. That's how I got started in that. Through that, got to know one of their family members and found out that one of them was an executive producer for an upstart esports company. It was called esports back then. It was competitive gaming. So got to know them. Through that, got to know the CEO, and through those, met all of their associates who had big dreams for what esports could be, and slowly learned through all those people and just kept those relationships and put in my 2 cents where I could, worked for free half the time at these events. There's no money involved in esports. Just worked really hard to get to know as many people as possible and eventually earn a seat at the table of like how these things get done and become a voice they listen to. And now I work at Twitch. So it's,
great story. So we got about 5 or 6 more minutes left with you. So I'll let Megan ask a few more questions. I have a couple more and then we'll let you go. But go ahead, Megan, see what else you have to ask.
All right. So another thing I was curious about, going back to networking and building. So as a student just graduated, and like he said, is networking important? You said it is. What are some other things that you could give advice to college students, like people branching out, trying to, I guess, create their own network, their own base?
Yeah, I think the best thing you could do is super common sense, and I don't think anyone in here is doing that, but just in case, make sure that when you're meeting people in the industry, like it is a big boom, but don't ever oversell your experience and the things that you're doing. I think regularly, especially in this industry, there's a lot of people whose LinkedIn may read, founder of XYZ esports consulting. And, the unfortunate reality is no matter how knowledgeable you may be, I may have someone from Columbia Records come to me and say, hey, this founder of this esports consultant company is talking to me. Do you know them? And I say, no. And they're like, great. And then that's it. Right. So work your way through. Many of us are super excited and passionate to talk to people who have questions and want to help. Like, every city has some different thing happening in this media industry at this point. Tulsa, Oklahoma, that's where I'm from originally. I attended a LAN tournament in Counter-Strike like 8 years ago. There are opportunities for interest in getting into gaming side, definitely to do that. But events are super powerful, like making sure that you are hitting people up ahead of time. Like, we are absolute disasters at festivals, shows, and events. Most of the time you can grab a coffee or a drink and we're happy to talk, give advice, or refer anything we can do.
Awesome.
Interesting. You work a lot with different music labels. What's the difference between working for like a major label, working with a major label, and kind of some of the independents? What kind of, as you look in the music industry, because you have some really great experience, where do you see kind of it going with the independent versus the major label? That's a big debate going on right now.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think that there's a home for everybody depending on the size, of their audience and their career and the way that they approach their art and marketing. Like, I can never fault a single person for not having any problem with licensing their masters to a major and doing all these things and having their publishing split the way they do, if their passion is working on that art and getting it to as many people as possible. That's the machine that can do it, no doubt. On the other side of that, you look at the indie scene, who's been around for a long time. Anyone from the Midwest knows, like Tech Nine, Strange Music. They have built this powerhouse of an indie hip hop label that's weird and like goth and grimy and fun and like really great. And they did that on their own. They didn't need all of these major distribution and everything else. So for me, in working with them, it's less a preference and more of, one is more creative and the other is more about reach. Working with like even West Side Gun and the Virgil Abloh Pray for Paris first listen that we did on Twitch, like that was super easy because they had like Griselda has major control over what they do. Like they were able, like, I want Virgil Abloh to DJ my album DJ style on Twitch. Like, I don't know who tells West Side Gun no. Like, so it's more like cool, like pop-up type things in the indie space, or indie quote unquote, versus the major stuff.
Awesome. Over to you, Megan, for a final question from you, and then I'll ask the final one and we'll be good.
All right. Final question is, so I'm going to steal this from you, Roberts, because I really appreciate this question and I think it's really good. So he always likes to ask, if you could tell yourself something, your past self, what would you do? Don't give up, blah, blah, blah. Like something like that. What would you tell your past self?
What advice would you give your 21-year-old self based on what you know now?
Oh God. Jesus. I feel like that's a question I should be prepared for. I think the biggest thing for me, and like this is counter to, I think some of the advice I've given some people. I think everyone has their own way of going about getting into whatever industry they want to get into. But for me, it is go ahead and get that business degree. While like I'm 31 and I'm very comfortable and very happy with where I am in my career, there was so much that like I'm not much of a book learner, and I just kind of blew that off because I'm like, I'm making money with this content thing and these other things. I'm going to focus on that. But there were points in time from like 21 even to 25 where I still had a chance to do what I enjoyed doing and finish school, and it would have given me a major leg up. I mean, I work around now a ton of MBAs, and it's great, and I've eventually caught up, but I could have started from a major different point if I just would have got it over with, and I would have been done by 23. So yeah.
That's very transparent of you. I think my final question is, you're obviously a leader in the live streaming space. Where do you see that industry and that space going in the next 3 to 5 years?
I personally think that we're nowhere near the cap and like the interest just overall. More and more people are going to start understanding. The question is still getting asked, why would I watch someone play video games? And that applies to so many things, because why would I watch someone else play football? Right. And let's take that a step further and outside of just games. Why would I watch someone produce a beat? Why would I watch someone cook a meal from beginning to end? Like, there's a lot of things that we're already working on, at least as Twitch, we see in other spaces, that there is a major desire for people to watch content, and they're discovering how fun live and interactive things are every day. So I think it's just going to be major growth and a lot of new types of content.
Awesome. Well, Jimmy, thank you very much for appearing on Industry Insider. We're so happy that you spent some time with us. We look forward to having you join us again July 11th for our Educate and Elevate conference. But we definitely are excited. I can't wait to share this interview with my students coming up in the fall and just kind of continue to build a relationship, because you've given some great tips and overall information. It's just been really valuable. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone, take care. We'll see you next week. We'll give you a quick commercial and talk to you about what is coming next week. Stay safe, and thank you for tuning in.
Next week's guest is Bo Patel. Bo is currently the Chief Portfolio Officer at T2 Hospitality. Bo is a CSUF accounting alumnus and an active EHM Advisory Board member. In his current role, Bo is involved in all aspects of pre- and post-acquisition activities, financial analysis, site visits, and asset management. His primary responsibility is to oversee their operating hotels and strategically partner with a third-party management company. Please join us next Thursday as we chat with Bo Patel.